So today's mini lesson is on the reading strategy, summarizing. So first off, what is a summary? When you summarize, you are reading a lot of information, you're finding the main ideas, and then you're rewriting a shorter version of that in your own words. So you can use a summary when you're reading a short story, when you're reading an article or informational text, or even when you're reading a novel. In fact, a lot of novels have a summary on the back of the book that tells people a general idea of what it's about without a lot of details. So why do we summarize? Why is it a skill we practice? If you summarize, it actually helps you to remember what you read. Another helpful tool is when you finish reading something, especially if it is a longer book or something you're struggling with, if you write a summary of what you read before you put the book away, the next time you take the book out, if you read the summary, it will help you recall all those important things that happen so you can jump right back into the text. It's also a way, though, especially when you study later, in college or whatever, and you have to read a whole lot of information, it's a good way for you to summarize all that information into something that's really short and has just the main ideas that you need. So there's two things about a summary. First off, there's writing a summary, and then there's being able to look at a summary and say, this one is better than this one because. So first we're going to look at what it means to write a summary. So first, to write a summary, you have to read the text. You find the main ideas. You're going to annotate your text as you're reading, so you're going to be writing on the side. You're going to combine all your sentences at the end and revise them, and then you're going to review it. Does it have any unnecessary details? Is it too long? And would someone who's never read the text understand all of it in order? So let's look at those steps in a little bit more detail. So step one, again, was read. So it's important no matter what that you're always actively reading everything, especially for a class or if it's something that you're struggling with. And actively reading basically means just that. You're going to read and then you're actively thinking about what you're reading. And so when you are reading for the purpose of summarizing, you're trying to really look for the most important pieces of a text, no matter what text it is. So you can annotate by underlining, highlighting, right on the text. You also, though, can write out to the side some of the important things that happened, some of the important points. And so a lot of people use things like dot points, where you take a paragraph or 2 or 3 paragraphs, depending on how you're chunking your text, and you just make some real quick points about the most important things that happened. So in this example, if this was a story that we were summarizing, it has the main characters, kind of their conflict, they're walking through a forest and they get lost. And then as you go on to the next step, which is making it into sentences, so you take those details, the main characters, the walking through the forest and getting lost, and then you think about, how can I put that into more complete sentences? So these are the main characters. They're all best friends walking through the forest late at night. They manage to get terribly lost and wander aimlessly. So I would say you probably don't need some of those details in there in terms of like aimlessly or gloomy, but you still get the main idea of wanting to make the sentences go from kind of the simple idea, the simple sentences, into something that's a little bit more like a paragraph. And then you want to review. You want to look back through your sentences and you want to say, well, did I make any errors? Is the summary accurate? So would somebody who had not read this be able to understand all the important parts of it? There's some sentence stems in here that you can use, and I'll also link them below. And then to identify correct summaries. So we talked about writing summaries, but when you are looking at options for summary, it's a little bit different. So let's say you're looking at a multiple choice quiz and you see a nonfiction text. So for nonfiction, you want to use the strategy BME, which is beginning, middle, and end. And so it's important that you do BME with the main idea. So as you're reading, you are chunking your text and you're annotating, but then if your text is really long, you want to kind of chunk it into at least 3 main chunks: the beginning section of your text, the middle section, and then the end section. And you want to include the most important part from the beginning, the middle, and the end. And then if you could summarize that in one sentence, the whole thing that you read in one sentence, I usually start my summary with that. So it's kind of the opposite order here. So I would start my summary with a one sentence about the whole text, and then I would give a couple of details. So I would do one from beginning, one from middle, and one from end. And that's how you can write something with nonfiction, a summary with nonfiction. It's a little different though if you're using fiction. So with fiction, we do something called CPR. And CPR is character, the problem, you might also know it as conflict, and resolution. So as long as you're saying who the story's about, again, it's the main character, right? And so you're naming them and maybe giving a little tiny bit of background. And then what is the main conflict they're coming across? And then how is that resolved, if it's resolved? So let's look at an annotated summary from the 2019 8th grade star. So here we're using the BME strategy. And so I did read through the selection. You can't just do this without reading through the text. But after reading, I noticed that this had the B and the M, but it was missing an important detail from the end. And it was also missing really the main idea, which was about bioconcrete. Same thing here, beginning and middle were there, but they were missing the end. And I noticed they had a detail that wasn't really important. Here, they had an important event from the beginning, middle, and end. And then this one, beginning, middle, no end detail, and it had, again, some details that were unnecessary. So just looking at the text itself, I was able to chunk it into 3 sections, and I was able to look at which of these paragraphs best captured the main idea from the beginning, the middle, and the end, and I was able to find the correct answer. And we can see the same thing here with a story. This also works for an excerpt from a novel. It also could work for a play or a drama. So in this case, this was a lot easier for me. I was able to very easily see that they all used the first name and they were all talking about the main character. So that was correct. But I was really surprised to see that really this first one was the only one that really mentioned the problem or the conflict in the story and then how it was resolved. The other one, it just kind of talks about the story, but it doesn't really show you that main conflict. And so I thought that was really interesting. I think that for you, it'll be really helpful to use those 2 strategies when you are trying to evaluate the best summaries. So that's it. That's all you need to know about writing summaries and identifying correct summaries and evaluating between different summaries to find the best one.